Is your mom proud of what you're doing now?
She's proud. She likes my confidence. That's what she says. She likes that I'm confident. She doesn't like what I'm talking about.
She's going to love most male comedians.
Her favorite comedian is Mr. Bean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cute. It's not you. It's Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean.
Hello and welcome to Cleopatra. I'm Lynn Molly.
And I'm Christy Bana, and this is a podcast where two Middle Eastern comedy queens dig up the funny from the first generation experience. I'm so excited to introduce our guest today, Mr. Opey. He was named one of Vulture's top comics to watch, and he's just a super funny guy, and he performs everywhere, and we're excited to have him on the show. Thanks for being here.
No, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And you guys are super funny. You should say that because I've been seeing you for years at shows and shit, and they're very great too.
Aw, thank you. I think I've had you on all three of the shows I've produced.
Yes. I think so, yes.
Yeah. You're also, I would say, the hardest person I've ever had to follow, and I've heard that from other comics as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
You
really
build up a hype, and then we all have to try and live up to it.
That is so hard. I feel like I bomb so much because I actually like bombing, but I feel like I bomb so much that to hear that I'm like a hard follow is very funny to me. Like when I think of a hard follow, I don't think of myself personally.
Okay, I have to ask, why do you like bombing, and how do I get to that level where I don't associate my self-worth with the volume of every laugh?
Well, I feel like I like bombing after the fact. Like as it's happening, okay. I'm not like, well, it depends. It depends. If I'm ruining someone's night, I love it. I genuinely am like, oh yeah, this is you guys are the way.
Never gonna go to a comedy show ever again.
When you turn into a villain sometimes as a comic, it's like, ooh, this is fun now. Like this is great, and I get to just kind of let my villain side show. But I personally like it when I'm like bombing especially with newer shit, because then I'm like, okay, this is feedback, and then the feedback's gonna make this bit better. If that makes sense. It doesn't feel good, but I think I have like some sort of like I like the punishment of it, but it'll ruin my night. But then the next day I like listening to the bomb and be like, you thought that was funny, you idiot.
Oh, wow.
I love listening to a bomb. It's great. It's really great.
Bombing is a sign of writing new material and being brave and trying things.
When you bomb with the good shit though, that's like, whoa, damn.
That's when you're like, maybe this career isn't for me.
I was on a bomb at the Cellar once, and the train ride back to my apartment, I was like tearing up. I was like, fuck.
Was it a hot room too? There's nothing worse.
Hot room. Oof. Very hot room, but I made it really bad. Like, I remember there was a piano player on the stage with me, and I looked at him, and he just was like this.
Ready to play you off at any moment.
He like looked away from me. I was just like, oh, fuck, man. This is going horrible, bro.
Wow. What do you tell yourself when something like that happens?
Nothing good.
Do you have like a mantra? No, nothing good. Just cursing the mirror.
Yeah, like, they were right about you, like that kind of shit. And like, but you listen to the set, you make adjustments, and go back the next night. I mean, you guys know. You guys know the shit.
Yeah, I really respect that though, because I feel like I will usually quit on something a little bit too soon. Maybe like a few months later, I'll read it and be like, oh, that wasn't actually that bad, but I just got so spooked because I tried it twice and both times it didn't work. And then I'm like, never again, no.
Also, I feel like if you listen to the tapes, you never bombed as much as you think you did. It felt so much, at least...
Sometimes it's worse. Sometimes I was like, oh, it wasn't that bad. And you're like, oh, that was honestly even way worse than I thought.
I guess I'm just the
just
messiah of comedy, and I've never actually bombed.
I will say I've heard lots of female comedians say that they did a lot worse than they do. And then I've also seen a lot of male comedians say they did a lot better than they actually did.
Oh, for sure.
So that tends to also be...
You ever see someone who's like, I killed, and you're like, you ain't killed. Come on, dog. We've seen you.
Opey.
Should I say names? Where's the camera?
Let's just list them right now. Tag them.
Hey, Ramsey, but no, I'm just that's my guy.
They're tagging the show notes. Yeah, no, we love Ramsey. No, there's definitely like people who say they murdered all the time, and I'm like, I'm more likely to believe there are dead bodies than that you actually crushed at this point, because you really overuse that word, sir. Your credibility is at stake. I feel like I still haven't gotten over my like people pleasy aspect where I'm like, I just want to make sure that the bookers don't regret booking me. And so I got to put on a good show. So I think I take fewer risks.
I feel like in LA, that's very hard to do. And I definitely, up until 2019, I felt like I was like trying to do that. But then I'll say this, like credits don't mean shit. And you get them and you're kind of like, oh, this doesn't change anything. And then you're kind of like, now nothing matters. At least for me. That's how I feel. I'm like, oh, well, this credit, it was kind of great. It was great to get it, obviously. But it doesn't change like the person, the audience. Like people ask me what to say for me on stage. And I'm like, just say I'm your friend. Because the audience doesn't know any of that stuff. It's all for comics. Like credits are for comics and for bookers. But the audience, it doesn't matter. So that's actually kind of freeing. Because then you know, like, oh, I can say whatever, and whatever the thing that they think is too like fucked up, you're never gonna see them again.
Right.
Most of the time.
Yeah. And
you should just like, in my opinion, you should just say what you wanted to say in the first place, and if it bombs, adjust. And it's like a date. It's like if you say something and the person on the date's like, ugh, then it's like, all right, you know what? We're not right for each other. And this is the audience. The audience and I are.
But you better believe I'm asking for a second date, Opey.
I mean, I hit the booker up the next day like, hey, I had a great time. Can I do the show? Can I ruin your audience again?
Let's go to the Getty together. Yeah. Remember we talked about that? When the appetizers came out. So that's interesting you said that about LA. So where did you start comedy?
I started in Orange County.
Okay.
So the great thing about Orange County was that everyone was a psycho. So because we were all psychos, we had like an assured like we don't care, and like bombing, everyone was so mean to each other that like bombing there was fine. Like the worst bomb I ever had, I remember I was like maybe 3 weeks into comedy, and I said some fuck up shit on stage and it didn't go well, and I was so like, oh fuck. But then my boy Connor McSpadden talked me out of quitting, and just knowing that like someone who's very funny thought I was funny just helped me continue to go on. And like now I like look at that starting in Orange County was really good for me. I hated Orange County when I first moved there because I grew up right outside of Washington, D.C., and I was always going into the city. But I lived really close to the city, whereas in Orange County, I lived like an hour and a half, 2 hours from LA. So it was just like I was stuck. So there was nothing to do but stand up. And we would do stand up in the weirdest rooms. Like we did it in a coffee shop called Max Bloom's. I ran an open mic there for like 2 years. There was a spot called Tickles, and it was
that sounds invasive.
Tickles was run by a recovered crackhead named Johnny Flowers. This sounds like I'm making this up. And it was at a methadone clinic.
Okay.
And so sometimes you would have like recovering meth heads walk in the middle of your set and yell at you, but he'd give you 15 minutes.
Wow.
So you like you learned how to do 15. Like 2 months into comedy, you were doing 15 minutes. And like that kind of stage time was like invaluable. So, you know, you could get up like twice a night doing open mics, and sometimes shows. There's a guy named Evan Cassidy, shout out to him. I'd say he's responsible for like majority of my stage time, like ever, like to this day, him. And we just got so much stage time, and then we'd ride up to LA and we would do solid. People in LA would always be like, hey, these Orange County guys are like, you know, they're kind of with it. And I feel like we were. I think you can still see it. Like, you know, Ramsey's from there. Connor's from there, Keith Carey's from there, and like there's a lot of good comics still down there, like who are still killing it. Tom Goss is another guy that I love. It's like a brother to me. So Orange County was where I started and really cut my teeth, and like it's like not. I'm still like I consider myself a Washingtonian, but like Orange County is like a weird second home for me.
How long were you in Washington before you moved to Orange County?
22. I was 22 years old.
East Coaster. I'm an East Coaster too.
Yeah, where are you from?
Yeah. I'm from Jersey, and I went to school in Boston and then moved out here.
Tight. Yeah. I love Boston.
Me too.
Jersey's cool too. I like Jersey City a lot.
Yeah, Jersey City.
Hoboken's underrated.
I think at this point it's rated. I think even Jersey City's rated. Newark's next.
Newark's wild still.
Yeah.
Newark's kind of wild still.
Like, I only know the airport.
Wait till you get to the train station. That's a ride.
So, okay, so you didn't do comedy in DC when you were like 22.
Nah.
Okay, you started out in Orange County.
I started writing at that time. I would write because like I was supposed to go to law school, but I was just like,
Get out.
Yeah.
Okay, I was an attorney for 8 years.
For real, I didn't know that about you.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Attorneys are good comics
You know,
because you're making arguments.
we really are, and
Yeah.
mostly with ourselves.
Troy Walker also. He was.
Yeah, Troy
and he's so funny.
Troy's great.
What actually made you move to Orange County?
My dad died. So I was gonna move to New York City. My plan was to go to law school, move to New York City, lie to my parents that I was gonna go to law school, and then start doing stand up because that's what Greg Giraldo did. That's what I was like. Okay, that'll get me to New York and get me away from my parents. And so like I was going to my classes in college because I didn't really want to go to college, but my dad talked me into it.
Right.
So I was like doing all this other shit when I was in college where I was like trying to be DJ. I was trying to like start a clothing line. I was trying to be a club promoter. Ugh.
You were multi-hyphenate before that was a thing.
Yeah. And I used to manage a rapper. Shout out to Dexter Fizz. He's still doing it. He's a fucking great rapper. I was a bad manager. I ruined a lot of opportunities for him. Like there's a couple rappers in that area who were famous, who are now famous, even more famous, and they weren't famous yet. And I was talking shit about them to their producers in an effort to get my guy on. And he knows this, my guy. And I just didn't have the tact to be a good manager. And funny enough, like I was always talking shit about trying to do stand up, and he was like, he kind of like softly fired me. He was just kind of like, hey man, you're not good at this, but you are funny. So you always talked about doing comedy, so just do that. But I'd already left the DMV by then. He kind of like, I was like 3,000 miles away, being like, all right, so I think I can get you this show, or maybe we can get you on this blog. And he was like, hey man, why don't you just do the comedy thing you wanted to do, and you know I'm gonna handle my rap shit. And he's killing it still. He's fucking great.
That's when you were like 21 though.
I was like 22, yeah. 22,
Okay, yeah.
23.
No one's good at anything.
Nobody's good at any. Somebody saying they're a manager at 22 is like somebody saying they're a motivational speaker at 22. I'm like, what the fuck do you know about?
I didn't know shit. I didn't know shit except for like.
I respect it though, because some people are like those savants, and they like they just know how to sort of hustle and figure it out on their own.
Yeah, I mean, I would just go to events and just, you know, I would do certain events. Like I was part of this crew called, I wasn't part of this crew. I joined this crew for like a month, and then I kind of got kicked out, called Sneaker Cartel in my college. And it was my fault. Like I look back at so much shit. I'm like, man, I was such a dick as a younger guy. And like, I just was talking so much shit and just talking out my ass about like certain things I thought I could do or like I should do. And yeah, I'm like, if there's some people I'm like, man, I wish I could apologize for my behavior, as when I was like, I can do this shit, blah, blah, blah. And then like it would always blow up in my face, and I wasn't like good at any of it.
Where do you feel like that came from? Were your parents like, you can do anything?
No, my parents said you shouldn't do anything. That's why I was like, it came from like
the opposite, like proving them wrong.
I'm gonna prove you wrong. Like my dad was super chill, but he wanted me to go to law school and just take a traditional path. You know, when I was telling him I wanted to do clothes, like I had a clothing line and it was like bad, and he was like, you don't know how to dress, and he was right. But I was like, I'll show you. I'm gonna have everyone wear my clothes. But I just had so many interests, and the good thing about going to Orange County was I couldn't do any of them. So the one thing I could do that was easy was stand up, and that like kind of just hyper focused me on this one thing. But I was gonna move to New York City and go to law school, but really to do stand up. And actually, it wasn't for stand up; it was to go try to make clothes and, you know, get in the music scene there. But my dad died, and my mom asked me to live with her in what I thought was LA, and I thought it was going to be LA. She said we're moving to Brea, which is Orange County.
Right.
I thought love Brea. So I was just like, all right, bet. That's a good move. And then I'll make some connections in LA, and then I'll dip over to New York. I'll be bi-coastal with it. Like I could put LA and New York City in my Twitter bio. I was like
wow.
thinking it like that. And then like maybe a couple weeks before we left, she was like, no, we're moving to like Brea, dude. Like this isn't gonna be LA. Cause she saw, my mom knew like what I wanted to do, which was to like just be out and about doing like be out late at night and shit. And I did end up doing that, but it was comedy. It was like the nerdiest art form.
So I want to rewind a little to your parents' backstory a little bit, just because that's a lot about what we do here. And I feel like that will give a little context as to why they might have been a little hesitant about the career.
For sure, yeah.
Here. Yeah, so.
I mean, my dad was a econ. I think my dad had like a master's in economics from Nigeria. And my mom is a nurse practitioner. And they gave up everything to come to America. Like we won the diversity lottery.
Wow.
What's that?
So the diversity lottery is a program. Well, I'm about to get into one of my bits, but it's like legitimately like a program. I think it was created by, I want to say Reagan, but it was like a program to like increase the diversity from specific countries and bring immigrants over to those, to America. And Nigeria was one of those countries initially. So my mom applied for the program, and my dad, she was like, I think we can get in this thing.
Wow.
And my dad was like, no, like we have a good life here in Nigeria. And my dad was like, he worked at one of the biggest banks in Nigeria and he was doing good. But my mom's fear was that although my dad would have been fine and they're good, it was like for the kids, like what their futures in Nigeria are going to look like. So my mom applied. I mean, we can't get in trouble for this now, but she applied and like she didn't get in, but my dad did. She filled out the paperwork for my dad. He didn't even know we applied.
I feel like every immigrant story is like a little sneaky.
Yes, for sure. And Nigerians were the sneakiest.
Yeah. We have to tell everyone that it's not like an ICE interview as well. Like, don't worry, we're not going to blow your shit.
I'm a citizen now. Too late, bitch.
Statute of limitations. I almost went to law school.
I'm not now in Nigeria. Like, cut to, I'm in Nigeria. Like,
this podcast is the reason.
The airport. I love that you. Okay, sorry. Continue.
No.
I was just gonna say, I love that you like thought you were gonna fake go to law school.
Yeah.
Like, how far were you gonna take that bit?
Well, I mean, I already went to college. Like, I like didn't.
Did you like type up report cards and like
apply to college? Like, my parents were like, they thought I was applying to colleges. And I ran track, and my track coach got me a scholarship look at this school called Fairleigh Dickinson, and I think it was in New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey.
Yeah. She was like, I think I can get you a scholarship here. And I told my parents, showed them the brochure, and they were like, that's too close to New York. And because they knew that I was gonna fuck around.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna apply to colleges within Maryland, and I just didn't apply. And I'm actually talking about this right now in the show that I'm writing on. And how like I didn't apply to college. My dad one day was driving me home from track practice, and he was like, so, you haven't heard back from any schools? And I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna go. And my dad was like, he like pulled over to the side. He was like, you didn't apply to anything? And I was like, nah, man, I think I'm just gonna, go out and do some shit. And like, I want to, Tim's rapping, maybe I could do something with that and this. And he was just like, no. He's like, you gotta go to community college. Like, he's like, your mom's gonna be pissed, but I think I can like smooth this out. Like, it was honestly the coolest thing he ever did. Cause like I thought they were gonna freak out, but I was like, I don't care. Like I'm gonna figure it out. If you kick me out, I'll figure it out. That's how like I was moving. Cause I had a job at a call center, and I was like, I have enough money saved up that like if I need to move out, I'll be solid for a little bit. And I know some coworkers who would take me in. But my dad was like, nah, like you gotta go to community college, which was probably good for me because I started seeing some kids I went to high school with who went to the community college, and they were like guys who were cool in high school. And I'm like, you graduated like 2 years before me. Like, you're still here. Like, it's crazy. So I just decided to like kind of get serious with school, and because I wanted to transfer to University of Maryland so then I could then be closer to the city. And because we used to live in Silver Spring, which is super close to the city, and then we moved to the suburbs, and I could never get to the city as much as I could.
Right.
So I decided to like go be at Maryland so then I could just be in the city all the time and never in class. And so it was like a strategic move, but then I almost got put on academic probation.
Oh my God.
So I had to like go back to community college and then get my grades up by transferring credits, and then I like stayed and I was solid.
You've just been chasing the city.
Yes.
Your whole life.
I'm a city guy. I love being in a city. Like I don't love LA because like, you know, there's not enough city infrastructure for me.
The concentration of the mobility.
I like just feeling like a bunch of people around me. I don't know what it is about me, but that feeling of like energy just does something to my brain that like gets me excited.
Have you ever actually lived in New York?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so
I love New York.
Okay, LA's here right now though, because that's what you're working on.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Career.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Like I've been in I moved to New York in 2019, and I was only there for like 7 months before the pandemic. Then I came out here to visit my mom's, and then like I got a job out here, and then I sold something. So I just was here.
Right.
But if I could come back to New York and live there, I would in a heartbeat. It's it's something about it that just fits for me.
That's why I was asking, because I was like, you seem like you, but now obviously it makes sense that there's a different type of industry here.
Yeah,
that's,
for sure.
You know, pulls.
Is your mom proud of what you're doing now and she sees the value in it, or it's still a hard sell?
It's a hard sell.
Yeah.
She's proud. She likes my confidence. That's what she says. She likes that I'm confident. She doesn't like what
She's
I'm talking about.
She's gonna love most male comedians.
Well, her favorite comedian is Mr. Bean.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cute.
It's not you. It's Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean, and there's this other Nigerian guy she loves. I can't remember his name. And there's the other dude named Basketball. My mom loves Basketball, but she doesn't like what I do because I'm like I'm dirty and I'm blue. And she wishes I like did Christian comedy, and I'm like, I like to tell her like, I'm a dirty Christian comic. Like I just talk about pussy, but for the Lord. And she's like, ugh, she does not like what I talk about, which is fair. But she's definitely softened on it. Before she was like no to comedy. When I told her I wasn't going to law school, that I was going to go to that I was gonna do stand up instead, she had to take her to the hospital for high blood pressure. Yeah, she was pretty upset. She was pretty upset.
Wow.
Yeah, she was very mad, but I just was like, I have to do this.
That's why the hurdle for us is so much higher, because there's so much more at stake than when you're just a white
when your parents
comic.
are like, I always joke this, like, I didn't come here from Egypt so you could be a beatboxer, Christy.
Yeah. You were a lawyer.
But it's my dream. Yeah, no, I was a lawyer.
You were a lawyer. You like did it. They were like, it's over. We won.
I mean, yeah, that's my own, like, don't worry, I have a whole episode, Opey, just to myself. But like, what I'm admiring so much though is that it seemed like you have such clarity at the get-go. Because I feel like I am a very risk-averse person still. Yeah. And I did actually really want to go get higher education, and I liked it and I was good at it, but I also had this whole part of my personality that I was suppressing, and I wasn't being my real self. Right. And so that was more like, I felt ultimately I was really worried about what my parents were going to say, and I think once I kind of put it in terms of honoring myself, right, I think they were able to respect that.
I mean, that's amazing that you can do that, because I think the one advantage I have is I was a man. And I feel like, I don't know, like we're African. So like women don't get to like, express themselves the way like me. I could be like, yo, fuck you, mom and dad. I'm gonna go do whatever the fuck I'm gonna do. Meanwhile, I have 3 sisters. I'm not the funniest one in my family. My second oldest sister is. My sister, I don't want to say her name. But she's, you guys, I don't know who people are looking up.
My second oldest sister
is way funnier than me. And she can sing, she can dance, she can draw. She's the real talent.
You should manage her.
Yeah. Well, I did. And that's why she's
that's why she's a lawyer.
Yeah. No, she's a vet. But like,
oh, nice.
She's obviously super successful doing her thing. But if you were to ask who the talented person in the family was, it's her. She wasn't like encouraged to do it. Whereas when I was like going out every night to do stand up and shit, she would be like, hey, you gotta like step up as the man of the household. You know, dad's gone. We need you to be the man. And I was like, I'm doing this stand up shit. Like, this is how I'm stepping up. And if I do this right, we'll be good. But I mean, and you know, I'm still like trying, but like if the roles were reversed, no one would care about me as a comedian or whatever. My sister is the shit. When it comes to comedy.
Very interesting Rami episode actually about that, where the whole time the sister in it is like, nobody lets me do anything. Yeah. They let you do everything. But then he gives her like this really nice talk where he's like, no, you let them stop you from doing what you want to do. I just don't. Yeah. But I don't know how much of that is on us and how much of that is on them.
I mean, I would say, shout out to Rami, but like I would say like there's at least from Nigerian perspective, there's definitely way more resistance. Like,
how so?
You know, my mom can't tell me shit. I'm a man. It's fucked up, but it's like I'm not gonna listen to you. I'm gonna listen to anybody. I listen to dad. He's gone. Who's gonna tell me shit? Dad was the only guy who could talk to me at that point in my life, and he's gone. So it's like, sorry, like I already, you know, like, and you know. To do stand up, you gotta be selfish at some level. It's like we're like, you know, for the audience, it is for the audience. It's not. It's for me. And I'm out here. I just want to, you know, I have this compulsion to tell these jokes, and I think every comic does. No disrespect to my family or my mom, but it's like I have to express myself in this way, and it's not a reflection on the family. It's a reflection on me. Right. But they don't see it that way, and they probably with my sister. You know, they have their claws in a little bit deeper because, you know, of the way you know, Yorubas it's a very patriarchal culture. So if you see a Yoruba female stand up, she's the real hero. Or artist. They're really going for it. They have to deal with some shit that I didn't necessarily have to deal with because, you know, as a boy, it's like, yeah, I had to like adhere to. There was a lot of pressure from my dad and my mom, but I was already on some like, nah, you're not telling me what to do.
It's incredible to hear a male comic express the further challenge of being a woman. Yeah. So ally
I'm not even trying to get points. I'm just being honest. It's just like I knew I could be like to my mom, like, fuck you, I'm not listening to you. And I started to have that attitude in middle school off rip, and I was like, nah, I'm going out. And, you know, it's 12 o'clock at night. I'm going out.
Okay, and, so you were like also, rebellious a little bit when you were a kid.
That, and I was also good at hiding shit. Like, I was good at getting away with, like, there's so much shit that I did my parents don't know that I did.
Okay, just say them all now so your mom listens.
I mean, I talk about them on stage. Like,
we only want one specific viewer tonight.
I smoked weed. I did a bunch of like, you know, I was stealing toys and I was selling them. I was like, I used to do other kids' book reports and sell it to them, and like,
such an entrepreneur.
Truly.
I just like, they wouldn't buy me shit. I'm like, I need this album. I need this thing. So I'm gonna get it. So that, I think that's my superpower, is that like, if you tell me no, as far as like, you can't do this thing, or you can't have what was the album I really wanted? No, the Eminem show. I'm like, I'm gonna find a way to get it, because someone's like, this is the best shit ever, and I'm gonna find a way to do this. So that's my superpower of like, even in comedy, where like some of my friends in comedy were like, that joke will never work. I'm gonna make it work. That's my shit. It's just a spite. I'm a very spiteful motherfucker.
It can take you a long way. I've historically been powered by fear of failure, fear of disappointing other people, or just fear of like, oh, if I don't pass the bar. I'm very good at generating a lot of like artificial consequences. Yeah. And like, so if this doesn't happen, then this means I'm a piece of shit or something like that. I should switch to spite. Have you tried switching to Spite?
It's like Sprite.
For the low price.
Yeah. This podcast brought to you by Spite.
Nah, specific credit I was told by an ex I would never get. A year after we broke up, I got it. And then she liked the post, and then I blocked her. Also, I'm like, told you. I was like, I told you I'd get it. But I'll be real, Spite can only get you so far. You still gotta like love what you're doing.
Right.
You know?
Well, so is that like the main current of energy that you want to be riding on? Like, no.
You gotta like.
Neither is fear, by the way. Don't worry. I'm aware of that.
I mean, that's when I feel like I learned in like 2019 was just like, oh, just because like you can show people like in spite of them, it's not healthy. It's not a good way to live.
I feel a lot of my need for this expression comes from this feeling of my story hasn't been told and I haven't been represented, so I have to lead the representation. Do you feel anything similar to that?
I just gotta represent myself. I mean, obviously, like I'm very proud to be Nigerian. I'm very proud to be from the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. I'm very proud of my resources, but the story I want to tell, or the stories I want to tell, I think will reflect them. But like they still come from me, and
right.
You know, I was talking to a comic about this who's Palestinian. He's a very funny comic, but I don't want to put him stuff out there. But he was like feeling this pressure to be like representative of Palestine, and I'm like, dude, you do that, you're gonna go drive yourself crazy. You just gotta do what you think is funny, and if whoever responds to it will respond to it.
Right.
But I used to have that like, oh, I have to, do this thing. And I was like, ultimately, I think if I'm just honest with myself, the people and the cultures I come from will be like, yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
So like,
and I think you fall into like a trap of when you purport to be representative of one voice. And obviously I know what you're saying is like because like in past podcasts, we've talked about how like we grew up in pretty like white areas. And so we felt like this, like, okay, she'll be Italian, I'll be Latina, like
it's very easy to hide when you're
easy to hide, and then 9/11 whatever, and then
9/11 whatever, great podcast.
But to then purport to sort of represent everyone is almost to deny the insane heterogeneity of all of the experiences, know. But it sucks. There is that pressure though, because if there's only one Rami, then everyone's like, that's what every Egyptian is, We need more diverse voices so that there can be even more of the shades,
I just don't understand why everything that I have to create has to be about Syrian,
Right.
And why can't I just be a villain in a superhero, It just feels like right now I feel so pigeonholed. But on your point, someone did come up to a Palestinian comic on my like all Middle Eastern show and was like, why didn't you talk about stuff? And he was literally like, I wanted to talk about ass eating or whatever. And I was like, that's all we wanted him to do. Yeah.
I don't think you're beholden to anybody to the art you create. Like Rami, that's why I like Rami. Rami does it in the way that I feel like it's true to himself. The sad reality is that like it's up to the gatekeepers to be like, all right, we need to have more than one voice. But I think also now with the internet, people will go to a Rami, but they'll also go to somebody. Trying to think who else is Egyptian.
Christy Bana.
Yeah, you. Sorry.
That's how little people are going to me. Who else is Egyptian? There's one in the room.
Me. I'm like a third Egyptian, so I guess come to me. No, I got the eyebrows. No, but it's like there's so many different voices. That's why I don't feel that pressure to be like I have to speak for Nigerians, because I'm like there's so many Nigerian voices and also comics who have different Nigerian perspectives, and now I'm gonna offer my own. But I don't think it's the end all be all. We've come to a place now in society where no one can speak for everybody, which I think is good. I think you want different perspectives from different groups. And I think it adds to the art. I think anyone who like claims to speak for everyone in their group, I grow suspicious of those people. I'm like, what are you trying to, usually those people end up as grifters.
Right, and where was this consensus? Where was the vote? I didn't see it happen. Yeah.
But there is that pressure because people do ask for it.
I'm like, the pressure comes from myself. Like, I'm a big Pharrell Williams fan, and he's always saying, like, he has this thing that he said where he's like, my only competition is myself, my only muse is myself. And I'm like, yeah, that's how I see it. Obviously, I want to make sure that my people like it. But if they don't, I don't feel like, oh, I let my culture down. I'm like, well, I guess I got to get better at communicating my ideas. Like, I'm super proud to be Yoruba. I'm super proud to be from the DC area, but I'm a human being. I'm a multi-dimensional person, and I think everyone is. So to tie him down to just one identity is weird to me.
Right. And that's unfortunately what Hollywood does want to do is I want the log line that is you.
Yeah.
And that means you only get like 5 syllables.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But I don't know. I feel like society's pushing back against that. And because I think a lot of bullshit gets made that way, where it's like, what is this thing? Like, I love I May Destroy You.
Yeah.
And she's West African.
Brilliant.
But it's a very African show without being an African show.
Right.
And that's what I love about that show. It's
Michaela Cole?
Yeah. I forget what part of West Africa she's from.
I think she's Ghanaian.
Ghanaian. Yeah. Like, she has this dinner scene of there's this like dinner scene in like an episode, and it's so honest. But it wasn't like, you could have led with that show. That could have been the first episode of like, what does it look like when a West African family in London eats? But instead, it was just like, it's perfect. And I'm just like, that to me is honest. I'm sure there's a show that is that, and it's honest too. Actually, not even sure. It's on TV. Bob Hart's Abishola. Like, that's also another portrayal of West Africanness in a different capacity. And to me, I watch those episodes and it's honest. And I'm not saying that because I write on the show, but it's a very honest show. There's an episode that before I even wrote on the show, where they were talking about the character got his hair done in a specific way with dreads, and his mom threatened to cut his hair off. And I'm like, that speaks to me in such a way that it's so honest and it's so real. And that's a multicam. And it's like, you can still get to the honesty and the truth of it in different mediums in different ways. It's just up to whoever to show that. And I think now there's no gatekeepers. If you want to get the thing out, I think there's a way to do it. It's just hard.
Meanwhile, my pilot is about a Syrian-American woman grappling with her identity. I'm leaning in.
That's great too.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
I'd watch it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's one right or wrong way to do it. I think it's just like, it's about doing yourself justice. Like, that's my number one thing. But in doing that, when you're honoring yourself, you're also honoring your culture. It's going to necessarily implicate all of those different worlds until that.
But like, think about the artists you like. They're unapologetically themselves. Pharrell, Beyonce, old Kanye. New Kanye. I say new Kanye. No, but I think about like, they know themselves.
Right.
Even like my favorite comics, I feel like the comics who have the strongest POVs know themselves and can speak on it, whatever they're talking about, with an authority. And I'm like, yeah. And like, knowing yourself and knowing like the direction and the vision you have, I think is always shows up better than I have to check off the boxes and stuff like that.
Right.
And I think the best art's always made when you're just like, nah, I want this, and I know this because I know myself.
Right. And it's never, and I think the hard thing about that is it's not going to be as clean. And that's why we like it.
Nah, it's harder to do that.
Yeah.
Like, mediocre art is usually just trying to check boxes, in my opinion. And that's fine. Mediocre art can work, but I think at least for a lot of the people that I like and like I respect, they go for it. And I'm like, whenever I see someone going for it, I'm like, fuck, that's dope. That's the shit. That's like, yo, I don't give a fuck. This is me. I don't care if you like it or not. And then I'm like, whoa, that's the shit that gets me excited. That's the shit that makes me have to go home and write. I'm like, all right, that was dope. Anything recent that you saw that made you feel that way? Or anyone?
In my head, I'm thinking Insecure. I feel like that's a perfect example. Great. Yeah, of just, it's not about, but it is about.
Yeah,
it's so, and it's so her.
I'm a big anime guy. Sorry. I know we're annoying. The thing that like gets me the most excited recently is there's this manga or anime series called Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's so weird and it's perfect. Like, this power system is insane. The way he figured it out is insane. And I think he's like making some meta commentary about art, because everywhere you think the story's going, he subverts your expectations and then he hits you over the head. Like, he got rid of this character and I was like upset, like one of my friends died. I was like upset, like I couldn't stop thinking about it. And when I see stuff like that, it's so weird that, like, if you had pitched me the show or the manga, I would have been like, that will never work. And I can tell that guy had a hyper fixation on the concept he was making. And it's so intricate, the details, that if I were to break it down, you would think that I was having like a seizure. And it works. It just works. And that kind of stuff where you know, you're like, how did you make that? You know what I mean? When I like see him, like, full disclosure, like one of my act outs, I stole from that show. I was just like, when I do a joke about like how on a date a girl will be like, I'm a witch, but I was like, I can't be like, I'm a wizard. And I just stole it from this show because it just shook me to my core when I saw the guy do it. I was like, yeah, the guy does this thing where he like creates this thing. There's this thing called domain expansion, and basically you get a free hit on your opponent when you do it. And the main villain does it in this cool ass way, and it's like the most powerful one. But when I saw that,
Look at that little Easter egg. Look at that little Easter egg for all you fans out there.
I really love seeing coolest dude in the world, Opey, getting this geeked
I'm not cool.
on.
I'm a fucking dork. I want you to know that. Shout out to Gege Akatama. The guy is a genius, and like I will argue online for him all the time.
Can we get him on this pod?
Dude,
Absolutely.
you can't. That's how crazy this guy is. If you look him up,
Have you tried the portal to another dimension
dude,
trick?
I would do that for days. I even do the other one. I do the other one all the time, like on some just like domain expansion, infinite void. Like he is this weirdo where like no one knows what he looks like. Like you look him up and he just puts on this like robot costume. Like that shit. I'm like, this guy don't give a fuck. This guy loves him. This guy like is like, I'm a nerd. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna dress up in a robot costume for my interviews, and it's like, Jesus Christ,
that's next level. Yeah. I really do love it.
I love shit like that. When somebody is like, I don't care what anyone thinks. I just like this weird shit, and I'm gonna lean into it. I love it when people do that. Like that to me is like a person who's free.
Yeah.
Don't care. You know what I mean? That's like real like cool art shit. Like I studied a little bit of art in college. In Baroque art, and do you know who Caravaggio is?
Yeah.
That guy's my shit. Like he didn't give a fuck.
We're going on some journeys.
Because like his story was insane. He was gay during the fucking Baroque period, and they knew he was gay. And he was like, say something. I'm not gonna give you any of my paintings. And then he carried a sword around. He was like the first Tupac, in my opinion. He died in a sword battle, and his paintings were sick. He'd always put himself getting his head chopped off.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, this guy's insane. Like that kind of shit. That's when somebody is just so themselves. I'm like, hell yeah, that's the shit. That's my shit right there.
We're gonna pivot now to some questions.
Cleopatra wasn't actually Egyptian, but she embraced many of their customs.
Yeah.
What's an American custom you've adopted, or a custom from your background that you can't shake?
Ooh, custom that I've adopted,
or something from your background that you can't shake that you're trying.
I still call my mom mommy.
That's so adorable.
That's the most Nigerian thing about me. I say, like, it'll just come out of my mouth sometimes. I'm like, hey, mommy. And then, like, it'll happen, like, in public around people, and I'm just like, oof. 34-year-old man who just called his mom mommy in front of all these people. But it's like any Nigerian man knows that, like, that's something you do. You're not supposed to, like, for some reason, I've never outgrown it. Like, you're supposed to stop doing it, but every once in a while I'm like, hey, mommy. And I'll be like, oh, God damn it, I just called her mommy again.
Have you ever done that in front of a girlfriend?
I've only brought one girl ever to my mom, so I don't know if I call her mommy in front of my that ex.
Have you ever called your teacher mommy?
Yeah, probably. Definitely. Because mommy's like because we're British English.
Right.
So we say mommy.
M-A-M-I.
Yeah.
Mommy.
Mommy. So yeah, I definitely still do that, and it'll slip up every once in a while in public.
Okay, next question. Cleopatra was a known seductress. What's your best pickup line or meet cute?
Oof. Okay, so I actually used to do this when I was like in 7th grade, and I was
prime Romeo time.
I was awful with girls, but my boy, this guy named Mike, was trying to size me, and he would be like, all right, you gotta go tell girls it's not all about you, it's all about you. And I used that up until I was like 18, and it never worked. So that was my my pickup line. I was like, oh,
for the people who aren't aware, that's his last name.
Yeah,
so
Olagbaju. And I would just be like, all about you, and it just would be like
crickets.
Never worked. So that was, I don't really use pickup lines.
I like that pickup line was like your original, like your first form of testing out jokes and then bombing.
Yeah,
and
but it
then
wasn't even my joke. It was
speaking.
my boy Mike, who's like, you got to do this, man. You trust me, man.
And he still writes all your material.
Yeah, Mike's my ghostwriter. Mike was the first, like, was one of like the funniest kids I ever met. He used to like just roast us all the time. Like I have two widow's peaks right here. I have a really like bad natural
two of
shape.
them?
Yeah, I got that from my mom's side. And he used to, I remember this, it was one of the best roasts to this day about me. He saw these two widow's peak and he's like, yo, why you got a Dracula shape up? He said, I want to suck your blood. Dude, Mike, shout out to him.
Cleopatra was the queen of luxury. What's one luxury item you won't skimp on?
Luxury item. Oh, sheets, man.
Ooh,
Gotta have high quality sheets.
Thread count.
Yeah.
Thread count. Silk or Zimbabwe cotton. Yeah, you gotta have good sheets. Unless like, you know, like I'm staying at my boy's house right now, and he was like, "Oh, I got cleaning sheets." I'm like, "Nah, I'm bringing my own sheets." Yeah,
I love
a good
that.
pair of sheets.
Traveling with their own sheets. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, where are we getting sheets from? I buy them at Target, and now I feel very lowly and peasant-like.
I mean, I buy everything from Amazon, but like I've dropped like $500 on sheets.
Wow.
Yeah. They gotta be nice.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Are you a sheet queen?
Sheet queen. That sounds like I am a racist, actually. There's no hood that comes with my sheets, I promise. I remember I got like a several thousand thread count comforter, and I felt like I would never leave. I was like, I would like to be buried in this.
They do feel amazing. They
Right.
do feel like good sheets are better than everything.
It's also like better for your skin and better for your hair, especially if
Yeah.
you have textured hair.
For sure.
So,
Like I definitely wear a bonnet at night.
yeah.
Yeah, silk one. I look like a mommy.
I have a mommy, not my mommy. Yeah, I have a
look like
silk
my mommy.
pillowcase. Do you do any?
I feel like I'm really skimping here, and I need to step up my game.
Really?
It's just straight
Her
Target
luxury is
sheets.
good wine.
I love some
Really?
good wine, yeah.
I'm such a kid. I don't drink wine. I rarely drink in the first place, but like I should know more about wine.
It's it goes great with nice sheets.
So is that why they do those tests with like they have like the see how good your bed
And you
is?
jump on the bed for the memory foam
Yeah.
mattress.
Yeah.
This stuff's good with wine. This bed's gonna be good with wine.
Yeah, that reminds me. I really need to get a new mattress. That's
I got a good mattress.
really.
Yeah, king size too. I have to
Ooh.
I have to have space.
Oh, nice. Are you a diagonal man? Are you a tosser turner? Why do you need?
I toss and turn. I also like have like very vivid dreams, so I don't want to like if I'm with somebody like a partner, I don't want to disturb their shit. I gotta have a big bed.
I heard that Daniel Radcliffe, when he first came into his Harry Potter money at like age 18 or whatever, the first thing he bought was a bed, and I was like, yes,
Yeah.
he's an icon.
He really is.
Yeah.
I mean, all those years sleeping in that cupboard, we'll do that. Too.
He was method acting for 7 years
Yeah,
under
yeah.
those fucking stairs.
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis. So the ancient Egyptians were often buried with treasure or worldly items. If you had to pick one item, what would you take into the afterlife or your sarcophagus, sir?
Probably my favorite pair of sneakers, which would be Nike SB Stasis. They're these pink and brown shoes. I love those shoes. They're like my shit. I bought them twice. I just look at them and I'm like, that's like they're like the perfect sneaker to me.
When you film your Netflix, Amazon, HBO special, are the shoes coming with you?
I don't like performing in them. I actually like performing in beaters because I feel comfortable. Like there's something about wearing nice shoes that I'm like, I feel like I'm gonna bomb. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
None makes me feel dumber than when I dress up and bomb.
Yeah. It's like when you wear all white and you're like, I know the
Yeah.
first thing that's going to happen is a stain and then I'm going to look like a fool.
Like I feel like whenever I see like comics like dress really nice for their special, I'm just always like, aren't you afraid of like, what if this doesn't go well? Now I'm just up here wearing leather. I'm just up here wearing real leather. Like sometimes
sweating in my leather.
Sometimes I see like comics in the specials. I'm like, why are you dressed like Jason Derulo? Like, this is ridiculous. You're a stand-up comedian. You're not a rock star. You're a loser.
I feel like there's got to be a happy medium where you give a shit, but you're also not like in your prom dress.
Yeah. I'm just like, aren't you afraid you're gonna eat it? And then you're just wearing that thing.
That's true. Yeah, there's like something like a jinx.
Both things I've taped, I think I wore these shoes because they're comfortable.
Nice.
Yeah.
Those are your lucky
I just
shoes.
like want to be able to like run around and bounce and shit.
I feel so honored that the shoes made our podcast.
Oh, I wear these every day. I have so many shoes, but I only wear one pair. It's stupid.
All right, you ready to get deep? It's time for our segment called Dig Deep. So Elizabeth Taylor famously portrayed Cleopatra in the 1963 film. If your life were a crossover episode of 2 TV shows or just 2 films, what would they be and who would play you?
Fooly Cooley for sure is like the crossover show. It's like it's an anime crossed with Doug.
Amazing.
Doug for sure, Doug. And who would play me? Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
Jaden Smith. That's who I can think of.
Playing Doug.
He does have Doug funny energy.
Jaden Smith. That's who I can think of.
Cleopatra left a storied legacy as a queen, scientist, and scholar. What do you want your legacy to be? What do you want to be remembered for?
I would hope I'm like a good man, good brother, friend. Because like, I don't know, the more you do this, more I'm like, oh, that's the more important shit. Mm-hmm. A good artist. I want to be like a good artist who didn't compromise as much. Somebody who had fun. Like, that's why I've been trying to have more fun in just life in general.
On stage, off stage, in work, everything.
Yeah, like more off stage, honestly. That's like the hardest thing is like being able to have fun and just being like present. And relatable and with my friends and stuff like that. Like sometimes I like talk to my friends back home and I'm like, fuck, I sound so, it's like you guys are living life.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I'm sure they think that you're living life.
I mean, like, are you guys feeling like, are your friends like having kids and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Like my boy, like a guy I used to like collect sneakers with and stuff, he's having a kid and I was like, wow, you're like, you're a man. I said, I don't feel like I'm a man. Just the way he talks sometimes, I'm like, you sound so at peace. That sounds dope. You know what I mean?
God, raising a kid in LA, like, it's very possible to not raise, like, stupid, douchey industry kids, I'm sure. A lot of what I see is, like, people that are just in the thick of LA and they're so, like, industry that I'm just like, ew. It just feels like another game they're running. It's like, and now I'm getting my kid into the shows. We're getting him an agent, you know, and I'm just like,
I would never let my kid do any of this.
Right. And then he's going to be like, I'm going to prove you wrong, Dad. And it's going to be full circle.
What if that's what they want more than anything else? Yeah.
If my kid wanted to do this, I wouldn't help them. I'd be like, all right, you got to do it, though. You're going to have to fucking work for it.
Like, you'd this send a few brutal. Rappers his way, perhaps.
It's just brutal. This shit's fucking hard, man. Like, this shit's... Like, there are times when, like, I'm like, my mom was right. I should have gone to law school. That would have been easier than to, like, try to do this fully, you know?
During the writer's strike, I was really like, maybe my parents have been right all along.
Yeah.
Okay, well, as somebody who did actually do the thing and went to law school and practiced law for 8 years, I can tell you, you don't ever want to be lying on your deathbed. What would have happened if I bet on myself?
Yeah.
You can always go back and do the safe thing.
Like, I gave myself 10 years. I was like, I will give this 10 years. At the end of 10 years, if I look at where my career and I don't like it, then I'll go to law school.
And you don't like it, okay.
I got to 10 years in July.
Oh, congratulations.
June or July. Yeah.
July. And the verdict? You're still here?
It was a weird moment. I, like, recognized it was 10 years. It was weird because I was headlining a club.
Wow.
And I was like, 10 years, I'm headlining a club. This is interesting that I thought it would be different, but I feel like I'm supposed to be this is where I'm supposed to be. And it was like the last show it was like the last show I was about to do. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this show. And one of my cousins was like in town and he like showed up and I was just like, it just kind of put all things in perspective. And I was like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this. I'll give it another 5 before I go to law school.
I vote for that.
Yeah.
I vote against law school.
There's enough lawyers.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's enough lawyers. But it was just like, I am now doing the thing I dreamed about doing. And like it being a reality was like a whew. Like that was scary. That was like, okay, I don't know.
When I first moved to LA, I quit my law job. I remember thinking like, okay, let me just like give it a year and see if I get any traction. And I didn't really define traction, but a lot of things happened in that 1 year that like I felt were like huge accomplishments. And I never really not bothered, but like I'm having, now that I'm like a few years in, I'm having a hard time conceptualizing now what does that look like?
Yeah.
And so like for you, when you hit that 10 year, it was more just like vibe check.
Very much so. I mean, I was like on a train and I was like, oh, this shit, I'm 10 years in this now. And like, it was just kind of like whoa, how do I feel about this? Like I'm 10 years and I was like looking at like everything that led up to that point. And you know, you're dumb when you start. You're like, 5 years, I'll be on stadiums.
No one's more confident than someone who's been doing stand-up for 1 minute.
Yes. Yes. You think you're going to be doing all these like major things, and it's very slow and incremental. And it honestly should be, because I don't know, getting it all at once is probably not going to be fun.
I mean, we see how it turns out for the people, the ostensible overnight successes who are not even overnight, but because they kind of go from obscurity to intense fame, they have their own credibility crisis and legitimacy crisis they have to deal with.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'm a decent comic. I know that I'm not like, I think I look at certain people, I'm like, wow, man, how do you do that shit? And like you talk to them and they're like, it's just time, man. It's just time. Or you'll think like, oh, I can hang, and then a comic that's like 20 years in busts your ass and buries you, and you're like, fuck, dog. And you just got to keep doing it. And yeah, it never stops. It never ends, is what I've realized. It never ends until you stop.
Yeah. It's hard because like we need to have benchmarks. We need to be able to measure progress. But at the end of the day, James Clear, he wrote that famous book, Atomic Habits, where like, it's not about, like, one of the things he says is, you're not trying to beat the game. That's not the goal. The goal is to stay in the game and to keep getting better. So there's no like, okay, I flipped the Monopoly board. I have one Netflix special, it doesn't go that way. Like the whole point in life, in comedy, is to hopefully just keep refining, keep moving, keep growing. And that's hard because you want to be able to like have something tangible to be like, look what I did. This was worth it. And now I'm finally here at the mountaintop.
But nothing ever feels like the mountain. The second you get something, it feels irrelevant, and it feels like anyone can get it. Whenever I achieve anything, I'm like, well, anyone could. And literally 5 years ago, I would have been like killing for that thing.
Do you remember how happy you would have been when someone put it in perspective like this, or like, what would that kid who signed up for his first open mic say?
Right.
Absolutely.
And I was like, oh, he was an asshole. He'd be like, what? You've been doing this for 10 years and you just started headlining?
He would have roasted me.
What happened? Did we stop writing? Like I was like, because I was so like confident about my abilities. It wasn't until like my first really bad bomb, I was like, oh, this is going to be so much harder than I thought it would be. It was probably for the best that it took this long to even start headlining, because I wasn't ready to headline clubs and stuff long ago. And even now, I'm like, there's so many holes in my game that I need to fix. I think it was like Joan Rivers who said, it's not about who's the best, it's who can stand in the rain the longest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, she said that.
Yeah, so it's like, you just got to stay in the bullshit and be like, all right, and just do whatever the thing is that you have to do.
I had a writing teacher. He said the same thing. He went to Columbia for his master's in fiction. And he was like, the best writers are not the writers who made it. They all like dropped out and had lives. It was the writers who just stuck around. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some really good comics that I started with that just had kids and like couldn't do it anymore. Just stayed in Orange County. And it's like, fuck, you were so funny. It
always blows my mind when people disappear or quit. I'm like, how? Teach me your ways.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Well, they have lives. That's the thing where I'm like, they have like functional, healthy lives. Because comedy, I mean, there's a way to balance it. Obviously, there's people who do it. But I think when you're first starting out, like, you kind of just have to like let this thing consume you for a little bit. And it's, you know, you got to learn how to, at least this is what I'm struggling with now and learning how to do, is having a healthy life outside of comedy. Like, you know, exploring my old interests and being like, oh yeah, I used to like playing the drums. I'm going to try to learn how to play the drums again. Learn how to play the piano. Like that kind of shit is where you got to start to, okay, how do I have a everything's comedy, everything's stand up, everything's writing a script kind of life.
Right.
I have a really hard time where I feel like my friendships used to all be outside of comedy.
Yeah.
And now I've been doing comedy long enough. It's hard for me to foster those friendships because I feel like we have nothing in common. And then I only have stuff in common with comedians. But then if you're only hanging out with comedians, you're only talking about comedy. And then what material do you have to draw from? And it's a very strange cycle.
My boy Ramsey always says, you got to live a life worth commenting on.
Yep.
He says it to me all the time. So that's something I definitely want to do more of next year, is like just living life and doing some life shit.
Playing pickleball. That's what I imagine people do. I don't know. What do people do?
I have a son. I play pickleball.
They usually have hobbies and stuff. Like, so it's like crafting hobbies. Like, I think the comics I like the most, like there's a dude I love named Luis Alvarez. He does Muay Thai. And I'm like, dude, he's like, you got to do Muay Thai. And I'm like, all right. Like, maybe I'll do Muay Thai. Like something to just.
Elizabeth Gilbert, is that her name? She wrote Eat, Pray, Love. She also wrote a book called Big Magic. And in it she says every artist should have like a artistic endeavor that they do that they're not good at, or just is that they do just to fuel them in some way. Do you have one?
I do.
What's yours?
Watercolor painting.
Ooh.
I also was a musician for 15 years. So drums.
Drums?
Yeah, I was a jazz musician.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I played drums up until middle of high school. And I'm like, I loved it, but I hated my band teacher. And I'm like, why'd I let him take that away from me?
I loved it so much. Also, our law firm had a band, and we would do battle of the bands against other law firms for charity. So I sung in the law firm band
of the band.
I'll tell you guys later. I don't know if I can.
I thought it would be a funny lawyer pun.
It is, but I'm not. Yeah, and everyone has like a stupid reference to like the Code of Civil Procedure, and we're the Rule 23s, everybody. You know, like so stupid. So yeah, that's what happens.
Was there band beefs in between other bands?
There was, because you know what? Some like. Okay, well, I don't want to get into, we only have 5 minutes left, but like some people would have basically all professional musicians and then 2 lawyers. We had a 14-piece brass band, like funk band. We were so great. We only had like 2 non-lawyers in there, and I liked our game. We had a lot of integrity. You know?
You're the good lawyers.
What's your thing that you do for fun?
I feel like I have a few. This is so manic pixie dream girl, and I'm so sorry. I do play a ukulele. Very rude. It's very rude of me.
Very Zooey Deschanel.
I know. But in my defense, it is the easiest instrument to play. There are 4 strings.
Yeah,
anyone can do it. And then I do like fairly competitive weightlifting.
Really?
Yeah, that's like a weird side hobby.
Don't let this get up fool you. She is like 90% muscle.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't know anything about like weightlifting like competitively. Like what is that? What does that like look like? You go to the competitions and stuff?
I used to. I don't anymore. Like the deeper I got into comedy, the further away I got from. And sometimes it makes me sad, but it's like you can't balance all these things. And then the other is I have a partner who is not in comedy, and I think that's a really good hobby.
Are they in the industry?
He is, but in the kind of visual side of things.
Gotcha.
So like graphic design.
Got you.
Yeah. What's your fun thing that isn't comedy that you, besides playing music?
That's what I'm trying to figure out, honestly. I've been so comedy focused the last several years, like from 2019 all the way up till like now. I really been taking a break, and I'm like, I need to like find another outlet for creativity. So all right,
the 3 of us, a ukulele, drums, piano abomination. Let's do it. That's amazing. Well, we cannot thank you enough for giving us your time. You are not only insanely talented, endlessly interesting, you're also just like such a kind person, and I really can't thank you enough for being here.
We were both fangirling about you being here.
We were really? Like, I can't believe he's doing our podcast.
Really? No, you guys are fucking shit. Every time I see you guys, it's always
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
What can we promote? Where can people find you?
if you want to see me right now, I'm mostly in LA. So I got some tour dates coming up soon in 2024. I'm going to be on tour.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to tour a lot 2024. That's my plan. So follow me on Instagram, Opey Jokey. That's honestly the best way to catch me.
All right, yeah.
I'm really bad at posting. So, you know.
Well, we'll be tagging you in all the clips that we clip out, so you can post those, and we will put your info in the show notes. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Opey, follow him. And until next time, this has been Cleopatra. I've been Christy Bana.
I'm Lynn Molly.
I'm Opey.
Goodbye.